Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Hey, Newcastle crew members, welcome to the last episode of the season for the Newcastle Crew podcast, a podcast dedicated to the NBC show Constantine. I am Lilith, and joining me is our fearless leader of Southgate Media Group.
Yep, it's Rob Southgate again.
I've been enjoying our time together, Rob.
You know what? I actually have quite a bit. I just think the audience could do without me. But I have enjoyed it quite a bit, and I've enjoyed watching the show. I'm going to be sad when this episode's over. We're going to have to find other things that we get to guest on each other's shows with, because you're too much fun, Lilith.
Definitely. Well, I do want to, let me see if Zach's still around. Hold on. He said he wanted to. I don't know if he went back to sleep.
Oh, go back to sleep. Oh, no.
Let me find him. Hold on.
All right. Oh, so we're going to have special guest Zachary.
If he's up,
is that what we're looking for?
I'm gonna leave this. Don't edit this, because if he's
I won't. Oh, I won't. Trust me. And Zach knows me well enough that he knows he better be up, because it will be ruthless.
Literally, the last time he wrote me was, so glad I woke up for this, because I talked to him yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, around like 1:30 EST. But with you and me, we never really quite start things on time, because we have busy lives.
We are very busy. When you wrote today and said, I think I'm going to have to bump this back, I was like, oh good, because I've got 800 things to do. And then you wrote back and said, I can do it. I was like, oh good, I've got 800 things I can do right afterwards. Perfect. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Is he not there? Oh, that's awesome.
He's going to be mad.
Well, Zach has 8 million things to do. Oh, wait a minute.
Is he pinging you?
No. I was teasing. Like Zach doesn't have 8 million things to do.
Well, we do have Zach and I have Game of Thrones coming up very shortly, sir.
Yes. Now, is he going to have HBO so he can do it?
We did it last year just fine without him having it. I mean, there's ways. And HBO To Go launches in April as its own separate premium thing.
He could get that, sure.
Yeah, so there's that.
All right, I just wrote to him too, so we are just going to torment the heck out of Zach.
Well, if he gets up, he can just jump right on in. So
yeah, we're very welcoming. I'd love to have him on here. That'd be fun.
Well, we're talking about episode 113, Waiting for the Man.
Yes.
And I had to double check to see if this is... Oh, did he call you?
No, the way you said that, I'm like, Lilith's already going to start throwing fire at this thing?
No, not fire!
Yeah. No, okay.
I was looking to see if it was out of production order, because I was curious.
It doesn't feel like a last episode. It does not. Just like we talked about in the last one, where we were complaining about the penultimate episode, saying, it doesn't feel like the next to last episode. This does not feel like the last episode. It feels to me like mid-season, or hey, we did this story, but we're really expecting a second season, and we'll really start to kick it in there.
Well, they committed the number one sin. It was no Chaz in this episode. Like, how can you do a season finale without one of the main guys? And Manny doesn't show up till a lot later in this episode, to the point where you're wondering, did we blow the budget on the Jim Corrigan guest star here?
Yeah. And, I was thinking, the thing that was getting me was about Chaz and about Zed. I was like, Zed's in it a lot, but this isn't a good Zed episode. You know what I mean? Zed didn't get to do Zed stuff. Zed was more like, oh, I'm having a vision.
She was auxiliary. You know, the same thing when she was in the when it was the Chaz centric episode, she was just kind of fluttering around to be there, to be the eye candy.
But in this, she shouldn't have been, because this was really centered on her in a lot of ways, but it wasn't. Or it should have been, I should say.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to have this. Well, I shouldn't. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to have Jim Corrigan back so soon.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't do any spoilers for the finale, so I was just like, oh, what's he doing back?
Yeah. You know, I actually had forgotten about him. I just was like, oh, wait a minute. And then I was like, they were kind of making a deal out of him. And I'm like, I don't think they've done enough to establish that it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, especially if you're not a comic book reader. Okay, Zach told me to add him in, so here we go.
Oh, Zach's on. All right. You there?
Not yet. It's calling. If Skype's going to work, I should change mine to what yours says. Hope Skype works today.
Yeah, did he fall asleep again?
No, he literally just texted, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
There he is. Were you taking a nap, Zach?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's right. It's the possible original co-host of the Newcastle podcast till Lilith took over and I got Flash. But still, it is me, Zachary Hare. I know you're all so excited. There's an intro.
I thought you were going to do From the Dark Depths of Purgatory to the Plains of whatever. That's how I listen to you say it every time. I don't know what you're saying anymore. I thought you were going to do your Sleepy Hollow intro.
What, you don't like my Sleepy Hollow intro?
I do. I just don't remember it. Give me a break, Zach. We're going to have this fight here, aren't we?
I don't think the war-torn fields of the revolution work for Constantine.
Well, we are dealing with a similar kind of dark matter. They had a Hellfire Club on Sleepy Hollow. We have a Hellfire Club on Constantine.
And we've got a Lilith Hellfire on this show, so...
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys lose your host. Gee, who could you have called, Lilith?
I was in a panic. I wanted to bother Rob, put more on his plate.
Zach, you're on 100.
Yeah, because as we all know, I wasn't messaging you all the time asking to come on.
Wow. Well, you know what, Zach? We'll make sure that if a second season comes up, you'll be first considered. How's that?
That's better. Now, speaking of which, do we think there is going to be one?
I don't want to let the Hellblazers down, but I would say guard your hearts.
Yeah.
You know,
keep Dave Constantine. I mean, it can happen. Sci-Fi, even though the reports keep saying Sci-Fi is not interested, they are interested. They specifically didn't pick up one of their shows from a miniseries to kind of make room in the budget for something. Yeah. That's all that I can really say about it at this point. Well, it's kind of suspicious.
When they say they're not interested, I'm always suspicious of the whole dealings because, you know, very often things like that are part of the negotiation process. You know, it seems to be like Sci-Fi wants to get it for the cheapest amount they can to make this thing happen the way they want. Well, when you're doing these transitions, when you're negotiating with actors and creators, if it seems like they don't want it, you know what? They might take it in the shorts a little bit to get it on that station.
Yeah.
Well, look at Warehouse 13. I mean, a lot of people thought that was canceled to make room for other shows in the budget.
And then unfortunately it came back for that last season and it should have been canceled.
Ooh.
But no, the last season was affected because of the cancellation. I mean, it got shortened to 6 episodes. Me and Dawn even said you could tell there were storylines that were planned at least in one season or 2 more seasons that they just shoved in the 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very true, Zach. That they shortchanged that show at the end, and it's really too bad.
Yeah. But Sci-Fi has grown so many leaps and bounds just in those short 2 years.
I just started watching Dawn's suggestion. I started watching Defiance, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Sci-Fi they're getting good stuff, man, and I think that Constantine's a good fit for it.
Sci-Fi is a great example of a channel that definitely has its peaks and valleys in what they do. You know what I mean? Although they need to change the name back because I'm not calling it's Sci-Fi. I'm not
Sci-Fi.
S1e13 is not sci-fi. I don't care.
So how did you feel about Jim Corrigan? Back to our initial question.
Yeah, we're talking about
now. You mean
look at Zach? I'm not the one taking us off the rail. It was you.
Well, if I had been here from the start, It would have been more stable.
Throwing those barbs.
I mean,
at
the start of this.
Zach?
I mean, the start of the recording, not the whole. Okay,
right.
Now, would you mean the character in general, or?
No, like, do you do spoil? I forget if you do spoilers or not for the show. Like, I didn't do spoilers for the last, like, 3 or 4 episodes. And so I was like, when I saw him, I was just like, what's he doing here?
Yeah, I don't think we did any spoilers, but we're past that point now.
Yeah.
So it's all fair game.
It's like I say in my podcast. I mean, if you're listening, you've already watched the episode, so we're not spoiling much.
No, I was just saying I didn't. So when I saw him, it was just like, what? Why is he here?
Yeah.
Where the hell's Chaz?
As you said on the show many times, Lilith, it's like a thing in the budget. They can't have the whole cast on at the same time.
Right.
It was only 1 episode we got that.
Yeah.
Well, did they even mention Chaz?
No, they didn't make an excuse or anything. So it was just like
last time. They said I think it was a recent episode where they said he's back with his family, which really doesn't make any sense because he's not going to be back with his family until his lives are used up. So who knows?
Yeah,
I thought he was out.
But I like Corgan.
I thought they said that.
Yeah, spending time with his daughter.
I do. And when I think the reason, and I think they kind of addressed in this episode, because of course he's going to be, they've hinted that he's going to be the Spectre. I'm sure he might if we get a season 2, but they did touch upon, when you think about it, justice and vengeance with him in this episode.
Yep, definitely. It was one of the best. I will say that was one of his better parts toward the end of this episode that you were talking about. I just don't know. Emma J. Scanlon just doesn't scream Jim Corrigan to me, so it's always really like kind of rough for me to take, I guess.
See, I'm especially recently with comics. I know the Spectre and I like him, but I don't think I've ever seen the Corrigan. And really, the original Spectre's outfit was ridiculous. Let's hope we're not going to see him in a green Speedo and pale skin.
Maybe not.
But,
if it goes to sci-fi, we might get the Speedo.
Oh God! No, but I do. I remember one of the.
Wait a minute! Now I don't want it to go to sci-fi.
I think my introduction to Spectre was when he inhabited Hal Jordan. That's when I first saw the Spectre, and I liked it because it was before Blackest Night, because he's punishing Black Hand and he tells him not to kill him, and what he does, he just disintegrates his hand.
Yeah,
which I thought was awesome. Oh, and they actually had a really good take on the Spectre in an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold.
All right, here's a synopsis, and once again, this will be a lesson in cold reading. So if I stumble, it's all Zach's fault. He's the new guy. A Satanist who is luring young girls to their deaths catches the attention of Jim Corrigan, who then alerts John and Zed. Nothing to do with Chaz at all. Together, the 3 bring the man to justice, and Jim shoots him as he runs away. Papa Midnight attempts and fails to claim a bounty on John's head placed by Manny. Zed shares with Jim her recurring vision of his demise. And once again, Chaz, nowhere to be seen.
I know. I was
Point of order, did Manny actually do the contract, or was it the Bruceria? I know they're working for him, spoiler, but...
Yeah, you're like jumping way ahead. Wait for questions later, Zach. Questions
all right.
Later.
I don't want people to get confused.
Well, yeah.
All right.
There.
Too late.
So
you know me. I'm already confused. Let's go.
So we had the director was David Boyd and Cameron Walsh. I don't know why we just had a slew of just different people. Like with 13 episodes, there's just like really no reason not to have just 4 people all in the same room working at the same time. I think that's what this series suffered from so far.
That, and I also think that the fact that like your showrunner should be directing a handful of episodes to keep their hand strong in it.
Or at least bring in David Nutter.
Yeah, and if they don't,
Goyer
he was the showrunner.
Goyer the showrunner?
Yeah.
So maybe bring him in because he's hit or miss. So
right, but if you're not going to have a showrunner keeping it strong that way, you've got to have like 3 or at the most 4 that are your go-to. And this was like every other week. It was director of the week.
Yeah.
Were they just trying them out, trying to say like, hey, this would work on Grimm. We'll use this guy next month.
Well, a lot of those guys do have network contracts and stuff. Like the reason why the CW uses certain people is because they just recycle. It's just easier. A lot of them all kind of film in the same place, and it's just easier that way. So
well, yeah, and they've got their contracts. That makes sense. But this one, the show suffered from not being consistent in ways.
Without a doubt, yeah. Because they had some powerful episodes, and the next one would come around, and we're like, I'm sorry, is this the same show?
Yeah, the look got consistent towards the end. I guess they had a meeting, but definitely in the beginning, it was kind of a hit and miss. You didn't know what you were going to get. I like the feel of this.
They almost pulled the Sleepy Hollow.
Don't watch that show, but no.
Yeah, that was like the first show I've ever thought. Yeah, but anyway, this, I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a Keanu Reeves cameo, but still, no.
Ouch. We had Emma J. Scanlon as Detective Jim Corrigan. We had Michael James Shaw as Papa Midnight. We had a cute little ginger, Annalise Basso as Vesta Whitney, and J.D. Evermore was, I almost did air quotes, quote unquote, the man that we were waiting for.
The man, yes.
I totally didn't, when the title of it felt really lofty, but like when I realized it's just this guy, just this human being, it was like, what?
It took the teeth out of it, didn't it? And then the way that whole thing ended, jump to the end, that, like, oh, but he's a demon in human form or whatever. It never had a big punch. And I was like, well, I would have loved it if in the final moments we find out that the man like really turns into a demon, like really goes full out. And it's like, oh, this is like a harbinger of the rising darkness. But instead, it's kind of a hillbilly that worships Satan.
I found that kind of refreshing, because usually when you have this kind of villain, he's brilliant, he's a conniving. But I didn't see him as the linchpin. I just saw him as,
but not for
like,
a final
I saw him more as like,
back.
Oh no, I completely agree on that. But I'm saying standalone. Like, I didn't see him as like the linchpin. Although it being the final episode, I can see why a lot of people might feel that way. That he wasn't like, oh, this is but it was just, oh, this is what happens when. This is one of the people affected when the rising darkness meets humanity, and that's what I got, because that's what he says. I didn't think this was like the first. I didn't get that from. But what I mean is, usually when you have like a villain like this, he's always brilliant. I kind of like the idea that he's a Satanist and an idiot. It's like, what's going on? I'm gonna Satan's coming around. We're gonna make some stew.
Well,
but you know what? Go ahead, Lilith. Sorry about that.
I was gonna say, outside of the Papa Midnight thing, like everything else you saw coming. That was another, like, everything was telegraphed way too far in advance. Yeah, like the girls, you knew they weren't real.
Yeah, right. I was waiting for, okay, when are they going to find their dead bodies?
Exactly.
Now, I know, I think this is one of those shows where, since it was going good, they should have filmed one more episode. That's not a season finale episode.
No, certainly not a series finale.
This is the series finale. That's going to be like one of the worst.
Yeah, it's only a series finale if you really have given up and you don't want to do this show anymore. And I can't believe that's the case. I thought this show really got interesting by the end.
It did. Do you think they're doing that just so they go, see, we have to do the second season now?
No, I think that's a really rough
planning.
Yeah, I do too.
I think there was another episode planned. There was another episode. There had to have been another episode planned that they just didn't make. Maybe early on, but it's. Because it's too many. I mean, it reminds me of when you find a great show on Netflix or something. You're like, wow, this seems cool. I'm going to check out. You marathon it, and the last episode, you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, been there, done that many times.
Yeah, so maybe that is the case. I really, really hope that's not it, though, because I was really into the story. This episode didn't. I enjoyed it, but it seemed a little discombobulated. It didn't have the punch I would look for, and if it is a series finale, it's a really disappointing way to end it.
By the way, this girl Vesta, has no one taught her stranger danger?
Apparently not.
Right.
No, listen, I'm all for, if she was being corrupted by magic, but we saw really no evidence of that. She literally, 3 weird girls show up and go, do you want to meet the man?
Do you want to marry him? Children brides is a creepy way to go. That's all I'm saying.
And then she strangled us.
I think we were supposed to believe that it was magic, that she was being possessed, because she would kind of go like, no, and then they'd get closer and she'd go like, yeah. But I don't think it was done well enough that we really got that
Definitely
message.
Not.
And especially at the beginning, when they first encountered her and it kind of went into that ethereal feel, I do think that it was supposed to be magic, but it was so subtle that I had to stop and watch it and go, wait a minute, why is she going with these girls? Like, if
Thank you.
Lilith, you're a girl, okay? Forget
she is.
You're a girl, and you're out. You've run away from mom, and you're having all those emo teenage feelings, right? and 3 girls in weird bridal gowns walk up to you and start talking to you, do you A, run the hell out of there, or B, engage them in conversation and decide to go marry the man?
Disengage at warp speeds.
Okay, now, here's the thing.
Now, it doesn't mean
it might have been more
female.
believable if she was younger.
I don't know.
Even then, I don't think so. Like, if
I know,
my
and
daughter
that's
is
still
only
pushing
7.
it.
My daughter is 7,
I know
and
Molly
she'd be
would run
like,
away.
she's like, I'm gone.
I'm going back home.
Yeah, and as she's running, she'd go, Doctor Who rules. But Lilith, it wasn't about being
she'd be saying,
male, female.
She'd run away and say, Alonzi.
Yeah, right. I was just equating because you are, I mean, you know what it is to be a teenage girl and to be in those situations where you tend to be on guard of situations a little differently than a teenage boy might be. And as a teenage boy, I would run away from that situation because what the heck? But as a girl, I know from like, I wish I could have watched this with my wife because I know even watching it, her reaction would have been, what the hell is going on? Just get the heck out of there.
I was literally saying that too. Like, what? No!
Oh, come on, Rob. You know that's how you got your wife. You had 3 people, girls in wedding dress that go in, so you want to marry the man?
That's right. I went, hey, boo, you want to marry me? How about that? He doesn't want everybody boo. What the heck?
But the episode does get better. Like, the open was a little rough. I couldn't really believe what I was seeing. I'm like, okay.
They could have fixed it by, like, having them give her candy or something. You know what I mean?
He should have had a panel van, a windowless panel van.
No.
Instead of that.
Go old school references. Have her eat pomegranate candy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, have it be like Silence of the Lambs, though. Like when he first got her, that's the scariest thing ever, and it's believable. When he's pushing the couch into the van, you want to help me with my van? I love it.
It does get better, at least I will say, because we kind of get that cool little crappy backwoods bar with, Corrigan and Zed and John, and it's smoky and they're talking. I don't know, like, even though they were talking about a case, it felt really relaxed. Like he really values Corrigan.
Yes.
And that's something that you don't see a lot.
We've been busting on it a little bit, but I actually want to say something I really liked. I think it's the same thing I've liked from day one with this series. John Constantine was great in this. I mean,
Matt Ryan kills every time.
It's so weird for me though. Every time I watch this show, I keep picturing, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he crushed it though, this whole series, and especially these last few episodes. Like, he just embodied the character. Like, now I was actually looking through my Hellblazer comics, and I was like, I started seeing Matt Ryan, which is interesting that you would flip that much, It's a lot like, it's very reminiscent of when Hugh Jackman was Wolverine.
Yes. I agree with you on that.
There's every so often.
Wolverine?
No, I love Matt Ryan and John Constantine. I love Hugh Jackman. He's the best thing about those X-Men movies.
That's what
over
I'm
at Fox.
Boy, Rob, I said one thing and you heard something completely different.
Somebody doesn't like Hugh Jackman.
I thought Lilith was implying she didn't like Hugh Jackman, not you, Zach.
No, I love him as Wolverine.
No, she was agreeing with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's surprising because it's Marvel, I know.
Yeah, I think that's what I was waiting for, the Marvel bash.
Yeah.
Well, okay, fine. I'll also say Christopher Reeve as Superman. This every so often they pick someone perfect for the role.
Yes.
Also, if they can just blonde up Jason Momoa, I'll be all right.
Don't.
That's a discussion for another time, sir. But it was weird that we were talking about like blood moons, and of course Zed notices the brand on the body, and of course John, being John, he has to see the body to be a creepy, morbid, macabre kind of guy that he is.
By the way, kids, please, anyone listening, do not put someone's hair in your mouth with a toothbrush and electrocute yourself. That doesn't work.
What?
Yes.
Okay, when we're talking best scene, I'm gonna throw that one up for nomination because that was riveting. When he put the hair and the toothbrush in his mouth, I'm like, what is going on here? Gross. And then when he electrocuted himself, I'm like, this is John Constantine. This is fantastic.
Can you imagine, like, that girl when she finally gets home? She goes in the room, Mom, what happened in here?
Why is there a blob of wet hair on the floor and my toothbrush smells like cigarettes?
Singed wet hair.
Oh God!
Yeah.
I think I just didn't like. I liked everything outside the weird, creepy child bride storyline. Like, I liked when Zed is in there and she can't get visions, And so John has to take it into his own hands, of course.
She was so cute with Manny. She's like the way she gets when Manny's around because she's so in awe of him.
Yeah.
Oh God! And then he turns out being the villain.
Oh, that was a good scene where he appears to Anna Kate's body.
Yeah.
It was like, she's like, wait, what are you doing here? He's like, you asked me to come. And I was like, yeah, I wish I had that power to summon Harold Perennial too. Just whenever
I think we have the different reasons for wanting to summon him, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you're right, man.
I think if Lilith summoned him, different reasons.
I'd want to ask him about Lost. What the hell was Michael doing that whole time on the boat?
Oh, yeah, that's all she'd want to know. Actually, Lilith, I think that would be what I'd want to talk to him about. So,
see?
I think you're...
I wouldn't, because I've never watched it.
You've never watched
and then
Lost?
I'd have him record Walt on my voicemail.
Nope, and when I hear about the ending, I'm glad.
So
You're
what
wrong.
else happens?
Forward.
So Vesta keeps walking around this house and she's like, what is that smell? And so you're like, yes, the dead bodies, run, little girl.
I like how they got kind of offended at it too. And I'm like, please, there's dead bodies. Just look around, you know?
And she sees the bloodstains on the wedding dress. Like, why is she still here? Run! Like everything in the world.
When they show their rings.
You know what? Actually, guys, you know what would have fixed this? It's how a word used. Not cliche. Trope is a better word, perhaps. It's like maybe if it was like an illusion or some kind of illusion, and she wasn't really seeing, like she was seeing something that wasn't there. You know what I mean? And then, like, the more she wakes up, the more she realizes, wait a minute, this is bad. Like, and she breaks through the spell or illusion at the end, and that's why she runs away. That would make so much more sense.
Yeah. It's just weird.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we're kind of busting on it, but when it all said and done, I actually did like the episode. It's just it was off balance a little bit, and it wasn't a great final episode.
I just can't get past the child brides, and then they were strangled to death too. Like that, I just couldn't believe because we moved to 8:00 on a Friday night, and we're dealing with strangled child brides. And I'm just like, just weird. It's a weird choice.
Well, Dateline is what's usually on, so it's probably not too much better.
True. But like, so John, what does he do? He went to the abandoned amusement park and he sees the vision of the security guard.
Did you get an X-Files feel off of that? Do you remember that episode of X-Files when it was half of it was good? That was another unbalanced episode, but they went to find where Mulder's sister was taken by the child abductor.
Oh yeah.
He lived in this weird, kiddie park. I was totally getting flashbacks during that.
And then, so we get another one of those cool things where somebody's speaking through another person's mouth and goes, John Constantine.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was great. Yeah.
I love that. That needs to be a recurring thing. No,
the best part about it is because it's another thing, in my opinion, shows that the people behind the show do somewhat get Constantine. Because it's of course, it's Gaz speaking through a dead body, and he goes, hey, Zed, what's up?
That was great. Yeah. Great moment. I forgot about that. Really good.
Oh, so yeah, he made a zombie out of that guy, basically. And then Zed gets a vision of the man's house, and she sees blood everywhere. Ugh. I miss the pennies from heaven visions at this point.
Right.
It's gotten pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it has. I want to talk about Papa Midnight for a second. At least they gave us Papa Midnight in the final episode. If we had gone into this last episode with Papa Midnight and without having, and it wasn't resolution because we know it's not resolution, but I guess you could say for the series, that was the one that they could technically say, okay, this was resolution of that story.
Mm.
So I really,
I was going to say, at least we know Papa Midnight has follow through on his when he sets out to do something.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right.
That was a great trick. That was a great trick on John's part.
John's part was amazing. Did you guys get suckered in by that?
For a quick second, I did.
I was suckered in until he shot him in the head.
Yeah,
me too. When he shot him in the head, as soon as he shot him in the head, I was like, oh, it's a trick. But all the way up to that, I was like, he shot him like in the chest. Like what? Like I was just watching to see if my jaw opened, and then when he shot him in the head, I was like, oh, it's a trick. And then all the cards were flipped. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing I could have actually done without was the whole Zed and Jim Corrigan and John getting a little bit jealous.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about that triangle particularly, not at all.
No, that it was kind of unnecessary. It was a little forced. And at this stage in the game, why was it there?
Just to have Manny call John out on something, I think. Gotta have your Janny moments, man.
I did like Manny calling him out on it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, that was the reason, and then it was well used, but it just kind of felt cheap. Felt like no reason.
Yeah. I did like the conversation between Constantine and Papa Midnight, talking about stains on, souls and whatnot. I'm like, dude, he killed his own sister. I think that stain is.
I don't mean to sound like, because as much as I like Hellblazer, I actually haven't read as much as I should have. So is Papa, because if I'm going by the movie, obviously I'm not using the movie as source material, but so in the comics, is he an anti-hero? What is he in the comics?
He is he's an occasional foe and an occasional friend. They have this, and I think if I remember right, they were also briefly lovers. So it's a kind of a complicated kind of thing with Papa Midnight.
I bet if it goes on Sci-Fi, they'll have the guts to approach that.
Yeah, they might.
Constantine being bisexual, not the Papa. If they had the guts to Papa, that'd be freaking great.
But yeah, so I really did enjoy that part of the episode a lot, because they have history, obviously, and a lot of backstory can be told, and hell, that could just be a whole season in and of itself, honestly. But I did like that conversation, and just like, it was good.
Oh, how about a flashback episode? How they first met? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But you know what? If we get into a second season, a third season, that's when they're going to have the room to really do some of that kind of stuff. Here, I think they were just trying to establish some world, and they lost their way, and because it wasn't picked up right away. So now it's like, okay, if they get a second chance, they need to step back, tell these stories, and take their time with them. And I think we're going to have a hell of a series if they can.
Yeah.
There's so many good characters they could bring on. Etrigan, Zatanna, even Swamp Thing.
Zatanna was supposed to be in this season, so that, for the life of me, for the longest time, I always held firm to it was only supposed to be 13 episodes, because NBC had a lot of things on its plate that it was no room in the schedule at all. But I did hear about Zatanna, and I was just like, I wonder why that didn't happen. I mean, we could have had her over Jim Corrigan, I'm just saying, especially if he's not the
yet. That would have actually been really
we've seen so many hints for Dr. Fate and all this other stuff that I was just like, yeah, she should be coming.
Yeah.
And it never happened, so it's weird.
What seems strange about this? If you look at the upcoming shows, I mean, everybody and their brother now has a comic book related show. I mean, there's so many, even Power Girl now. I'm like, what? Like, they're starting to really open.
They're doing a Power Girl show?
Yes. So if you're doing all this, why would you give up a property as rich and developed as Constantine? Why wouldn't you put your efforts behind it? Because this thing really is an interesting story that would have an audience.
Even if you're not a comic book fan.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people I know that watch it aren't comic book fans. So it's just like, that's even better, because that widens your audience.
And it was such a good tie-in show with Grimm.
It really, that's the only thing that I would say would save it. If NBC decided to keep it, it would keep it at 13 episodes.
Well, put it as the mid-season, like they did with Agent Carter. Put Grimm, and then for the break, put this on, and then
right now would have been a great time to have it, because of this stupid break everything's taking.
Well, I know for a fact why they didn't do it for Constantine. It's because iZombie is the WB and DC's big push for the spring. That's the property they're pushing.
That doesn't look too fantastic. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, I know they put it on after The Flash, which is the CW's #1 show. So they have a lot of faith in it. And they've had a lot of faith in it because Rob Thomas is behind it. Veronica Mars was huge over the summer. So I really understand why they didn't put Constantine in that spot.
You want to laugh when you said that? I seriously just went, the guy from Matchbox 20.
So did I.
No, and it's another writer named Rob Thomas that does young adult novels. I'm like, the other Rob Thomas.
You know what's a great example of that? There was a producer on the show Frasier called Christopher Lloyd, and it wasn't the Christopher Lloyd you would think of. And he would get letters all the time from people going, I love Back to the Future.
Yeah, it's the Christopher Lloyd that produces all those shows with Charles, and whatever.
Charles, and David.
Yeah, that's the Christopher Lloyd, and they are two different Christopher Lloyds.
That's hilarious.
One has producer credits, one has acting credits.
I don't know. I feel like they came across the answer to Vesta's situation a little too easy, I think, though.
Yeah. The Vesta storyline, Here's
what I thought when I was watching the Vesta storyline. once again, this is a case where we've talked about how they've developed things. Should have been 2 episodes. They should have taken their time with it. It should have been your penultimate and your final. And you could have actually
That's what it is. This felt like a penultimate episode.
And
especially with the cliffhanger thing.
And they crammed 2 things together that didn't quite, like, they didn't take their time with any of it. And that's why it's like, this isn't developed enough. This feels rushed. This seems a little weird.
Oh, I know why we had to have the Vesta storyline, because Papa Midnight operates out of New Orleans. Like, that's his power base. So we need a reason to get him down there.
That's what I felt the whole time. I'm like, the only reason they're having this is so
it's a MacGuffin.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Another thing which would have made this great for maybe even a 3-parter. The bounty on Constantine. Tell me we wouldn't have been great to see people popping out of the woodwork trying to collect on one person trying to collect on the bounty.
Even better than that, that shouldn't be a triple episode. That
should be the whole season too, really.
It should have been happening, and it should have been randomly happening. You go 2 episodes without it happening, then all of a sudden he's got 2 of them that he has to deal with as he's dealing with the actual story of the show. That's how you build mythology. You have these things that are
a bounty
in the background.
Would be a great reason to bring on
awesome.
Yeah,
a bounty would be a great reason to bring on Lobo.
Oh boy. So yeah, but and basically that's all that happens is that they save her, and then Zed tells, Jim, why she's being so distant and weird. And, Manny's popping in and out, being a manipulator, apparently.
Right.
So,
yeah.
They do get the man. Like, I was surprised that Jim went so easily along with Constantine's plan.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. There's the worst part of the episode for me.
Yeah.
He just, come on. When he just was like, he lets the guy go and then goes to shoot him, I'm like, what? When are they living without rules? And the guy didn't show to be a demon. He showed to be a Satanist. I don't understand why Jim went along with this.
I think that's his step into, being judge, jury, executioner on the darker, grittier side of things.
Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was too easy.
That's fine, but we didn't have any setup. This is only the second time we've seen Jim, and it was so, if you don't know that story, it doesn't quite make sense. In fact, it kind of makes you feel like, you know what? Who's this character? And screw him. Like, he's a bad guy all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, not wrong sometimes.
Yeah, but that's just how I felt watching it. Like, it didn't connect. And once again, if that kind of thing had a little more time to develop, and let's say it was a 2-parter, let's say that happens 3/4 of the way through the 2-parter, not at the end, and there's some type of ramification, all of a sudden it's a lot more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy, it's kind of like, did you ever watch the show The Killing?
The first season.
Okay, I didn't see what happens. But there's a part where one of the characters has to make a decision, and there are ramifications for a cold-blooded murder that ends up happening at one point. And as the viewer, you're totally siding with this character, but you understand, wow, they can't do this. And this right here reminded me of it, only here it was like, oh, I guess I can do whatever I want, and I can just shoot this guy, and no one's going to question it, and it just goes on. And John's saying, well, he's a demon because he acts bad. Well, no, he's a Satanist. We didn't see demon.
Actually, I think it was John trying to corrupt Jim in front of Zed personally. To show Zed. Do you know what I mean? Because they were trying to really run that jealous bone. And so that's what I kind of got from it, honestly.
Actually,
that's Constantine.
She is right.
Okay.
Like, they haven't really explored that darker side of Constantine. Like, they hint at it, but they never really give it to us in our face. Like with Richie, he talks him down or whatever. But the other guy, Gaz? Oh, that was so much more brutal in the comics. They really watered that storyline down.
Yeah.
One thing it made me think of is actually Sleepy Hollow. It's because of how they turned a character evil in Sleepy Hollow, and it literally was in one episode. The whole first and second season, she was good, and then one episode they literally went, "Yeah, she's evil now."
Right. Yeah. And this actually may have been even faster because it was like over the course of one line that it happened.
Exactly.
Like, they just turned it on a dime, but but there was an explanation afterward. There needed to be some exposition. There needed to be a discussion between Jim and Zed, or Jim and Constantine, just a little something at the end, and it would have made it a little more solid for us. But there was nothing. He lets the guy go. You hear the gunshot. You assume he's killed, and you're like, but what?
They did the classic birds fly off into the distance, Zed pull. It was just all so cliche, and I'm like, Constantine, no!
And did he actually shoot the guy?
Yeah, who shot him? Was it Jim or was it Constantine?
Or did he even shoot him? We never saw a resolution. We don't know what happened at that point. Could it be like the Pine Barrens? You remember the episode of Sopranos and the Pine Barrens? Where they're chasing the guy through the Pine Barrens, he shoots, it looks like he hits him, but then they go up and there's no body, there's nothing. And then they never resolved it in the series. This was Constantine's Pine Barrens because we have no clue.
Here's the problem I had with it. I get the now it happens. This is something that's touched upon in Grimm a lot, and they do it really good. Like there are some things he has to handle as a Grimm that obviously, like you can't go to police and say, yeah, this guy he turns into a dragon and he lights stuff on fire, and the guys are like, really? I see, Nick. But this because he can't bring certain vests into justice. But this guy tortured a security guard. He's suspected of killing his wife. And the bodies of 3 children are in the house. I'm pretty sure this guy would have gone to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
It was just weird.
Yeah, it didn't work because there's no reason he couldn't have gone to jail.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about the part where the officers show up to arrest Papa Midnight. Like he wakes up just in time, of course, TV writing. It was great. And I thought that was going to be the end of Papa Midnight, and then we get the police officers transporting him, and Manny shows up.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, dun, dun, dun. Here's Manny. Now, that scene with Papa Midnight and Manny, that was a real setup to something interesting that, once again, I think was the second half of this episode.
Right.
That ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this was a 2-parter, and the second part was never filmed. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know what? It makes sense if it's a mid-season finale. It makes sense.
This is a perfect mid-season.
Right. But it wasn't. Well, it wasn't a perfect. It ended perfectly, but like we've said, they could have taken one of the episodes that didn't go anywhere out and made this a 2-parter and really fleshed out the story, and it would have been a lot better.
Yeah. I don't know, like, this episode, it was good, but like just as a finale, as the episode is happening, I'm like, this is the last episode for the season. Like I was expecting something really grand and big. They were dealing with a petty human. Like I just couldn't.
Yeah.
That's all I could focus on. Like, what else? And then the Manny thing. I was like, too little, too late.
Yep. I get it.
So let's talk about questions. Burning questions.
Okay. Anyone got any?
Zach usually is full of questions.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not
here's
this time.
the question. Why did they mishandle this show? But I think we're beating a dead horse by asking that again and again.
Well, yeah, I don't really have any questions. It's just, I really hope it gets a season 2 because I think this could be a solid genre comic book show.
Absolutely.
I think we need to switch. We need more help. I'll put it to you this way. David S. Goyer does really good when he has a good team around him. Like I said in the last episode. Right. So we need to kind of shake it up and firm up the writer's room. If it's going to be 13 episodes, get 4 people. Teen Wolf, of course, like Jeff Davis writes a lot of them and like himself. And he has a very stable couple of directors that he works with. And it keeps the show pretty fairly consistent.
Hey, I
think that's what Constantine needs.
We'll keep Goyer on his toes. Someone will say, hey, we're going to do a crossover with Blade, and we got Wesley for it. Goyer will be like, no, I'll do good. I will do good.
But we'll let you use Ryan Reynolds, too. Oh, God.
Guys. So let's get into the grade then.
Okay. You mean just for this episode or for the whole show?
Just for that. We can do that next. The grade for this episode specifically.
Yeah, this episode.
Ugh. I'm torn. I really am because I like parts of it, but so many parts I'm just like, and as a standalone, I'd probably give it closer to a 4 with a standalone, but as a series finale, it's got to be a 3 for me.
All right.
Okay.
We usually do ABC, so I'm going to translate that into a C. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the exact same thing. I think that there's a lot of brewing here that has made it a C. That it wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed it. But being where it was positioned in the season, the lack of development, and just kind of where the whole thing kind of felt rushed, it's a C. It's my lowest rating that I've given, actually, because it fell flat. But I really liked things in it. So it could have actually been a much higher. If it had been a 2-parter and the things we talked about were fixed, this could have been an A, because this had the potential. I think that's why it's a C. It didn't meet its potential.
Hellblazers, feel free to send me hate mail and hate tweets. This is a D+ for me. Lowest grade of the season.
But you always rate lower than I do, typically. So I
couldn't give it a C if I wanted to, though. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, it just was too disjointed, and there was no Chaz, and there really was we could have gotten to New Orleans without this storyline. We could have done it without Jim Corrigan. Like, to just leave Charles Halliford out of the season finale, it's a gross miscarriage of justice.
And not having Chaz made no sense.
Yeah,
just ridiculous.
So I just can't. We don't have our whole team together. I can't. Things fall apart. Like that, you could at least give us that in the season finale.
Good enough. So let's go with the other question. What did you rate the series? Because if this is the end of the series, we want to know where we're at right now. Zach?
Well, really, the funny thing is, if I was rating just on Constantine himself, just the character, I say that gets a very, I mean, that's almost an A. Because like we said, he's so perfect. And when the show was, it's one of those things. When this show was on, it was on. You know what I mean? It gets an A when it got the characters right. But then it would slide down into the C when it's like, why is this even happening? But I still think I'd give the show an A because it got the character right. And for me, for a comic book fan, that means so much to me.
That's very just. That makes sense. How about you, Lilith?
I think that the actors were amazing, but I think that the storylines were just mishandled. So for me, it was average. Like in the season of The Flash, that has just been tearing it up. Like just critically and as a comic book fan. It hits on all the cylinders. This Constantine could have came out last season and probably would be better in my opinion because it's not compared to The Flash. But unfortunately it is. So it's average. It's a C+.
That's one of the reasons Arrow's been getting worse reviews for me this season because Flash has been hitting out of the park.
Well, no, they've just totally downward spiral in the writer's room because everybody's everywhere else. Whether it's the comic book tie-ins or the movies or Supergirl or whatever it is, everybody has another job. Nobody is solely focusing on Arrow. That's the problem with Arrow.
And it shows.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that
hopefully they'll get that corrected in the next season.
Well, this second half of the season is going to be pretty good, but
I mean, if they would just stop trying, I know this is a tangent, but it's something I mentioned on the Flash Hour Power Hour, shameless plug, that they got to stop turning him into Batman. I'm just saying.
I stopped saying that so long ago because I couldn't do the shot. That's a drinking game.
So did I. But that's saving because this is not the Arrow podcast. But okay, so Constantine. I'm hoping on Sci-Fi they'll have, if it gets to Sci-Fi, he'll have more freedom. Like he'll smoke more, he'll be bisexual, he'll be more of a jerk. Like he'll be more constant, and he'll be able to play Constantine like that. He'll do it as an ace.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Rob? Would you?
For a series, I'm going to put the thing at about a C+, because I'd like to actually go higher than that. Because when I liked it, I really liked it.
Yep.
But it was flawed, and the flaws we've talked about. It's not necessarily within the show itself. It seems like it's more the business end.
Yeah.
Constantine, dead perfect. I mean, you know what? Make him your Constantine in whatever project you do going forward. He was it. He gets an A. He gets an A+.
Absolutely. I think that's one thing everybody agrees with, is that Matt Ryan totally killed it as Constantine.
He killed it. So there you go. I mean, I'm going to go C+, and it's only because of not living up to potential and because of the backroom stuff that has affected the show. And the things that we've talked about over and over, it seems like we're talking about the same things over and over each week. Yeah, right. It's like, okay, I know they can't fix it. Like when it's done, it's done. They can't go back and keep changing these things because they put it in the can and that was it. But you know what? As you're doing the dailies and as you're figuring it out, wouldn't somebody who's running the show go, hey, we're off here. We need to tweak this going forward. And it doesn't seem like that happened. It seemed like they rushed a lot. They were just trying to fulfill obligations. Now, I will say one thing, though. It doesn't feel like, some shows when they know they're not coming back, how it fails at the end. It just kind of peters out. Mm-hmm. This didn't do that. This kind of felt unfinished, but it didn't feel like it petered out. And I think that's a real bonus because petered out shows have a hard time coming back. I got no interest in them coming back usually. So there you go. There's my 2 cents. I'm giving it a C+.
All right. Scene of the night.
Matt Ryan, A. Scene of the night. As long as I'm doing the filibuster here, I'll go with that. Scene of the night for me, Oh, it's Papa Midnight. Papa Midnight with the zombie might be the greatest thing in the show. When the guy woke up and he had his mouth sewn shut. I mean, that whole thing was just awesome. All of Papa Midnight. There you go.
Zach?
It's a tough one because really this one didn't have scenes that really well. I mean, like I said, I loved Zed with Manny. I'm going with that scene because there wasn't really any action scenes that really stood out to me, but that one I thought was very touching, so I'll go with that.
I know this is probably a really odd choice, but it's when Constantine does the rituals to release the girls' souls. It just felt like it was like a burden off of Constantine. Like you see that he cares every now and then, and I like to get that glimpse. I do.
So, in other words, it sounds like all of us. There was a lot. Everything both of you said is hitting true. It sounds like there was a lot to really like in this episode. It just shows that the missteps really negatively affected it to give us such low ratings on it.
Yeah, I mean, I love this show. I rooted for this show, and I root for a second season, definitely. And, I think a second season either makes or breaks a show, definitely. Yeah, and I think that this can make the show. Like, they've learned the lessons, they've seen the reactions, they see that people they have a really dedicated fan base. And if you kind of do like Arrow and actually kind of take that in, that's what made a lot of the second season good. It's like, hey, they actually listened. They fixed a little bit of Oliver, but they backslid a little bit. But that's okay because that's human. That's human nature to backslide.
Right.
So I think take some notes and listen to your audience because that's
they're turning Oliver into a jerk.
He's always been a jerk, but John Constantine's the biggest jerk in the DC universe, and I love him for it.
Constantine should be a jerk. I was talking about Oliver.
So I didn't really have any dialogue that stuck out. Did you guys?
No, I kept trying to write one down, and there was nothing that really stuck out.
No, again, that scene, I love pickles. If that doesn't speak profoundly to you, I know.
Oh my God.
It was funny the way she said it. She's like, I love pickles. It's like, what, are you going for an Emmy with that line?
All right. Stretch it out. You might get that Emmy nomination. Yeah.
I think mine would be Manny. I envy you, truly. It's not all harps and halos for us. We have rules to follow, but you have your choices. You can act on your visions if you choose to. Now that's a gift, because that goes back to that devious nature of Manny that we got that glimpse of, and they never really went anywhere with it with the other fallen angel.
Yeah.
See, I love
that
when they show that
would be the line of the night. I think you nailed it.
But of course, John Constantine saying bloody zombie, because, it's a thing.
Yeah, that was good too.
I don't know if it counts as a favorite line, but again, I liked how Gas through the zombie goes, "Hey Zed, what's up?"
Yes, that was awesome. So let's see, biggest shocker surprise of the night.
I don't think I was surprised by anything really. I mean, no.
No, the only thing was I got suckered in on that scene with Papa Midnight shooting Constantine. So was there a surprise in the story? No. Was that a scene that surprised me? Yeah, it was great.
For me, it was Jim Corrigan, like, in the way that they left that open-ended scene. Like, what? That, for me, like, I was surprised that they would try to go that route so soon with this being the character's second appearance. Like, wait, no, that's moving too fast here.
Yeah, although I don't know if I would say that was a surprise as much as a disappointment. Where it was just kind of like, really? I don't think I felt surprised by it.
I mean, because he has a really big fan base. They were rooting for him to kind of stay the good guy for as long as possible. So that's what really shocked me. That makes me think that they don't listen to their fans. That's all.
Well, that could be true.
But see, here's the thing: we don't know if he's because we don't. Wait, are we talking about Manny now?
No. We're talking about Jim Corrigan.
Oh, I thought so. I don't because it's like you said, Rob. We don't know if he's a bad guy because we don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened. Well, he's a bad guy for letting him go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that is
all the evidence around
to the storyline. But we don't know if he went bad, if he shot him. We don't know if that was a shot into the air. We have no idea. We don't know if it was the hillbilly taking a shot back at them. We don't know. Hey, boo, bang.
Oh yeah, we forgot about favorite lines. We didn't. I just realized we did favorite lines. We didn't even talk about. Let's say we ask you to bless this here union.
Wait a minute, that might be the favorite scene too. When he's sitting there and he's like, "Wait, you all get on up here, boo."
Wait, how about when she throws the fire and he thought? How about when she lights everything on fire?
Why'd you go and do that? Yeah.
Oh, wait! I think all our favorite lines could just be him because you a hunter.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm a hunter too. Well, you knew that. I like how every line, no matter how sadistic and psycho he is, he sounds like he's he sounds like he's making friendly conversation. Like he's the kind of guy to be like,
right.
I'm gonna rip your head off and shove it down your throat. Yes, I am.
Yeah. He was right out of Mayberry. That guy was just chewing up the scenes, and I loved it. I love that guy.
Well, he literally chewing up the scene.
Yeah, right. He was chewing something. All right, did we cover everything? What's up?
Yep,
Lilith?
time for shameless plugs and self-promotion.
All right, let me start it off.
With how many podcasts I have, that might take a while.
You can find all our past episodes and all of our shows at our website, which is www.southgatemediagroup.com. Follow me on Twitter at rsouthgate. Follow the company on Twitter at smgpods. And, we have, with the DC thing, I just do want to highlight this. We've got a new plan where we're taking all of our DC TV shows and splitting them onto 2 networks. What I mean by this is if you subscribe to Channel 52, you will get like 4 or 5 of the DC titles that we have on that. If you subscribe to Flash Hour Power Hour, you'll get 4 to 5 shows on that also. So you can subscribe to them individually. You can get new DC content in your mailbox like every day. So it's pretty awesome. We're going to start doing that soon. We did a little bit of it and it's been successful. So there you go. There's my shameless plug about all of it.
Alrighty. What about you, Zachary?
Oh, with how many podcasts I have, this could take a while. But actually, I've wrapped up most of them. Yeah, just check out Southgate Made for some of the other shows I do. We got some lot of exciting stuff coming up. Of course, me and Lilith will be doing Thrones in about a month. Less than a month by now, actually. So, woo! Can't wait for that. And of course, we got waiting for Longmire to come back. We got the Daredevil Netflix show coming back. And of course, we're waiting for, like Rob said, the Flash Arrow Power Hour. That's going to be really good. And be sure to check out the latest episode of the Flash Arrow Power Hour because we have a very special interview with Eric the Smoke Moran.
Ooh,
yeah, that's posted too, so it's a good one.
No, we're going to have him back on the show because him commenting on, because he's so knowledgeable about comic books. It was awesome.
Very cool.
Oh, and anyone and if you're going to be in Massachusetts area, people will see me at Conburst at the end of on March 27th.
Oh,
fantastic!
Nice.
And I'll be debuting my first ever completely created cosplay, an amalgamation that I think people will find very interesting.
All right! Wow, we need pictures for the website, Zach.
Oh, there'll be pictures. Wait till you see this. It's going to be so sick.
Sick is the right word.
I'm still building it.
How about you, Lilith?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Lilith Hellfire. Be sure to check out my blog, littlepopculturevulture.blogspot.com. I co-host Channel 52, Queen Consolidated, The Flashpoint, and of course, Zach and I do co-host a Game of Thrones podcast. Is it Ice Fire Wolves and Dragons?
Yeah, something like that.
Ice Fire Dragons Wolves, the Game of Thrones podcast.
Thank you. It's a mouthful. So yeah, we hope you've enjoyed our discussion about episode 113, Waiting for the Man. And if you are a true and loyal Hellblazer, don't forget to tweet occasionally, save Constantine while we're waiting for season 2.
There you go. All right.
That's a wrap.
I'm done. That's a wrap.